So have we finally reached that part of the season where teams are just giving up? Players giving up on the organization, on their coaches, maybe even on themselves, and just looking to book that next vacation sometime in the winter after the season's over? I think so. And some of the lines might indicate that this week. So let's get into it. Week 12, picks for every game. Let's go. Yo, Dave Loughy here on Twitter at Loughy_D. Hit your boy up. And as always, if you don't mind, help me feed the algorithm with a thumbs up, a subscribe. It's all free to do so. Only takes a second. And let me know in the comments your favorite plays from this week. I try and read and respond to all of them. And one more thing before we get into the games. If you're not on Bet365s yet, I tell you, every single week, you're getting $150 in bonus bets, and you're getting that killer same-game parlay Thursday night promo that we have absolutely dominated them. When I mean dominated, I mean there has been no promo that anyone else other than us right here all season long has crushed. You guys know, it's in the comments every week, has crushed Bet365 on. If you're not there and you're on any of those states located, whether you live there or you are physically located there at the time, you bet 10, you deposit 5, and the moment that first bet settles, even if it is a live bet in the first drive of a game, the moment it settles, you have $150 in bonus bets. And now you can jump in on that Thursday night action with us, building out same game parlays and getting paid in bonus bets per every single touchdown scored on the day. Use the link in the description, the link in the comment, either one in the pinned comment will get you there. Just deposit 10, bet $5, takes a minute to sign up, collect those bets. Let's collect them on Thursday, and let's get to the Thursday night football game right out of the gate between the Pittsburgh Steelers. 21 years or older to gamble. Gambling problem. Call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Steelers, Browns. Browns 4.5-point dogs, 36-point total here. Yes, the Steelers are the better team for sure. They just knocked off Baltimore last week. We were on the Steelers in that game. And they're a pretty complete squad, especially with Russell Wilson not giving games away on his own like we've seen him do in previous seasons. But I don't love laying more than a field goal here. And I know you guys hate a lot of these gross spots. Some of you were on board, right? We get a lot of gross spots. The Browns last week, hit it. Steelers last week, hit it. Falcons last week, lost it by a mile. It goes both ways now, doesn't it? But when we win them, it feels great. Point being, the Browns defense should actually be able to hold up, I think, even though they've looked like a shell of themselves. I just don't love the spot when you're talking about a divisional home dog of 4.5 points. You know, I went over this game, both of these, and like the fact that Denzel Ward is going to be on the field, he said he'd be fine. He's a killer player. And I just generally like home teams in these spots, especially, and that's why we were on the Steelers last week, but especially in this AFC North division. Things go so sideways all the time, no matter who the better team is. Somehow Jameis threw for almost 400 yards last week, and his team came away with 14 points. It's nuts. So I'm not arguing this is a great football team. As a matter of fact, they're clearly worse than the Steelers, and they are not nearly as good a coach team as the Steelers. But we've been riding this Steelers team for a little while now and getting great results on them as road dogs against Commanders, and then as home dogs against the Ravens. But now 4.5-point road favorites in the divisional spot. Look, I know we're almost 2/3 through the season, and this is not a great Browns team. It's obvious. But many of the dogs we bet on aren't good teams. We're not betting them to win outright. They're just in decent enough spots to cover. And in this division, a home dog is always live to keep it close. As always, I'll have a full breakdown on Thursday morning, 11 Eastern, right here on the channel. More in-depth analysis on the side, so stick around for that. Props, touchdowns, all that good stuff. But right now, give me Browns plus 4.5. Chiefs minus 10.5. 41.5-point total. I think, guys, we might have to do it. We might have to do it. We might have to go against our rule here when it comes to betting against the Chiefs as big favorites. You know, they were a dog and they lost last week, so maybe this is the time we make the full pivot. Here's the thing. I know you're going to hear people be like, listen, the sharp side here is the Panthers. People have been saying the sharp side is the Panthers for 2 years now, and they are routinely wrong. Like sometimes that just doesn't work with a team like the Panthers. I simply don't know how they effectively move the football. Now, I'll be the first person to tell you. The level of parity in the NFL means that anything can happen week over week, okay? Anything can happen, which is why we bet a lot of these ugly dogs. The Panthers are just one of those teams that I have such a difficult time doing it with because I don't know how they effectively move the football. Like the few times that we've bet big favorites this season, mostly the Lions, as a matter of fact, we have gotten the wins, even though we don't like doing it. And this may just be one of those spots where, you know, we said it with the Lions against the Titans and the Jags. where the number can't be big enough. Like, of course, a number can always be big enough, right? But not that they could set it that high. Another way to bet this, you could just take the under 14.5 for the Panthers, and I wouldn't blame you for that. But look at this matchup and see where I'm going with this. Let me know in the comments where you're at in this game as well. I don't see where it can stay competitive because, and again, it's football. Sure, it can. But the Chiefs' offense hasn't been sharp, and nobody would argue that they have been. But they're still fully capable of running up the score against a bad defense. The Panthers cannot stop the run. They have a far inferior secondary, but more than anything, they cannot generate pressure on the quarterback. If you give Mahomes a clean pocket, I mean, it's a wrap. But more importantly, they can't run the ball on the Chiefs. Maybe they will. I don't see how they will. The Chiefs' run defense has been dominant, and the only thing that has buoyed this Carolina team in the handful of wins that they have this year has been Chuba Hubbard in the run game. So no, getting Jonathan Brooks back to me does not make a huge difference. If it's up to Bryce Young to move the ball downfield, this game is simply over fast. So yes, give me the Chiefs minus 10.5. If you don't love that, I have a teaser piece later in this video. Stay tuned for that. We might tease the Chiefs here. I honestly wouldn't even blame you if you're like, hey, I want minus 19.5 on Chiefs, and I'll just grab an alt line, at big plus money. They might just come in and absolutely dominate. I don't care if Carolina is coming off of a bye. Cowboys at the Commanders. Commanders laying 10, 45-point total. Remember I said it feels like teams have just given up? I hope you remember. It was 5 minutes ago. It'd be problematic if you didn't. We may have reached that part of the season, though, where I think it's pretty reasonable to consider betting a lot of these big favorites. Not all the time, obviously, right? Like we just grabbed Denver against Kansas City the other week, but they haven't given up. There's a big difference between big favorites, big dogs, and big dogs who have just given up. Washington hasn't had their bye yet, but they've had a mini bye, coming into this week after playing last Thursday. Outside of Marshawn Lattimore, who could practice, but I don't think he plays. They're healthy. And either way, not only did the Cowboys get embarrassed at home, they now have a minus 118-point differential at home. Let that sink in. Minus 118 points. Insane. They've suffered several crucial injuries, particularly on the offensive line. What do we do about that? Zach Martin went down, seemed to be a pretty significant ankle injury. Tyler Smith, ankle injury. Tyler Guyton, shoulder injury. Jake Ferguson, concussion protocol. Who knows if Deron Bland and Jordan Lewis play next week? Oh, and the Cowboys are playing this game on a short week on top of all of that. Look, Cooper Rush wasn't even that bad. He wasn't really the reason they lost, even though I wouldn't be surprised if Trey Lance starts because there's nothing else going on. But Mike McCarthy, he's a lame duck. They won't. Jerry said he's not going to fire him midseason, but he's not sticking around next year. Yes, we've seen some regression from Daniels. Maybe those ribs are banged up and hurting him a bit, but the Commanders should just be able to impose their will on the ground. And also with the pass rush against, what's going to be almost guaranteed a skeleton crew of an offensive line. It's a big number. Commanders minus 10 or nothing at all. Lions minus 8 at the Colts, 50.5-point total. The Lions have trounced bad teams this year, and we've comfortably gotten the cover in those games. With last week against Tennessee, that was no sweat, and I felt great about that. Again, it's like number can't be big enough. The Jacksonville game wasn't even close, right? Jacksonville last week, Titans a few weeks ago. The Colts aren't really a bad football team, though, and Anthony Richardson actually showed something on Sunday. Now, the Lions have surprisingly, you guys might not know this, but played more close games than you'd think. 5 of the 10 games they've played this season have been decided by one score, by one possession. And they're a fantastic football team, so there's just no way I'm betting the Colts to win outright. But outside of a touchdown at home, feels like a pretty decent spot. And I wouldn't be surprised to see this move to 7. Maybe not. We'll see. I don't know. The Colts run block and pass block really well. Should be able to keep pace enough for this not to get ugly. And there you go, fellas. You have my blessing. Cue it up in the comments. This guy will never learn betting against Detroit. But I'll have you know, I went back. And we are a respectable 6-4. 6-4 betting Lions games this season. So not so fast, my friends. Let's make it a 7-4 this week. Give me Colts +8. Not one of my favorite games, but I guess we got to stay true to the brand and piss people off. Bucks laying 5 at the Giants, 41.5-point total. Look, I can't bet Tommy DeVito against the Bucks team that's coming off a bye and getting healthier. I get it. Daniel Jones is horrible, and sure, he's a real problem. But are we really going to pretend that Tommy DeVito is the answer? Come on. home field has not been an advantage for the Giants this season. They're averaging just over 10 points per game at MetLife. And again, is DeVito really, do we have confidence that DeVito changes that? Maybe he does for one game, but I have trouble. I have trouble seeing that. Like, I have real difficulty seeing how that happens. Tampa had a bye. They get healthy, which means Mike Evans could be back. He's been on the practice field. Jamel Dean should be back. Tyke Smith could be back. What's actually a huge game for them because the Falcons have dropped 2 straight. They look awful right now, and they're inactive this week with a bye. Not to mention, Baker's been legitimately awesome. Like, he hasn't had his top 2 playmakers for a handful of games now, has a really tough schedule over the last 4 or 5 weeks, and still kept every game super competitive. So yes, give me the Bucs. Let's see them look to go on a run here, get a win against the Giants. Give me Bucs -5, even though this one has moved quite a bit. Patriots at the Dolphins. Dolphins laying 7, 46-point total. I don't love the Patriots or the Dolphins here, but I actually don't hate the over at 46 points. The Dolphins, no, they haven't looked as explosive maybe as we've seen from them in the past. However, they're averaging nearly 28 points per game in 4 starts from Tua Tagovailoa since he's returned. That's good. And on the other side, Drake May really hasn't been bad despite facing some tough defenses lately. He should at the very least be able to keep this game respectable. And you don't have to worry about weather being a factor in this one either, with it being down in Miami, clear skies expected as well. 2 factors here. One, I don't think the Patriots are going to be able to stop this Miami attack. But 2, I don't think they just lay down either. Like, since that ugly Week 7 loss against the Jags in London, the Pats are 2-2 with wins over the Bears and Jets and 1-score losses to the Rams and the Titans. Give me the over 46 in this one. Vikings at the Bears. Okay, Bears 3.5-point dogs at home, 39.5-point total. I don't know about you guys. I'm just not sold on the Vikings right now. They got a thoroughly unconvincing win against the Jags 2 weeks ago. They beat Tennessee on Sunday, but they never looked dominant. They didn't look dominant against the Colts either. This offense is Sam Darnold's been okay, but he definitely has looked like a shell of the Sam Darnold we saw early in the season when they were just steamrolling teams. Divisional spot on the road. I don't love laying more than a field goal here, quite frankly, especially with Chicago actually showing life last week with the offensive coordinator change. Maybe they needed Shane Waldron gone. Hell, I mean, we bet them at +6.5 in another divisional spot against the Packers. We got an easy cover. Blocked field goal was ultimately the deciding factor on whether or not the Bears won this game. I've said it a lot this season, so why not say it again, though? The Bears' defense is actually good. Like, they're arguably a top 5 defense, 10 at worst. But I think you could very much argue there's been a top 5 defense. Sure, a run funnel defense, but a good defense overall. So if the offense finds even a little bit of rhythm, these games are always going to stay pretty competitive if Caleb Williams just can't be the worst quarterback in football. Honestly, I'm considering a money line bet at +155, but let me not get ahead of myself. For now, let's just go Bears +3.5 at Soldier Field in another good divisional game against the Vikings. Titans at the Texans. Texans laying 8.5, 41.5-point total. All right, so the Texans got Nico Collins back on Monday. I'm recording this Tuesday, by the way, so that was last night. They absolutely rolled the Cowboys. No surprise. We like the Texans there as 7-point favorites. They probably could have done it without him, though. Joe Mixon had a massive first half. Cooper Rush ended up making enough mistakes to make sure this game never got close enough. And then the offensive line towards the end was banged up, and he had no time in the pocket. I don't love this for the Texans, though. Like, they should crush them, if we're being completely honest. They should. They just haven't felt like they fully clicked, and maybe the return of Nico in this game could be the difference. Like, I think some over props on Nico could look really good. And I'll break all of them down in Discord. We might have some ladder. This might be a necessary ladder spot on Nico. I'll tell you in a minute how you can join me over there for 50% off your first week or month. Get all the plays early and join us for what's been a very, very fun season in the NFL. But this isn't to say that the Titans are any better than the Cowboys, but defensively, at the very least, they cannot get embarrassed. I actually want to go with a teaser piece here, right? Because it's hard to see Houston losing this game at home, even if it stays closer than they'd prefer. So 6-point teaser with the Chiefs gets us inside the 7, inside the 6, all the way to 4.5. And then for the against the Panthers, and then inside of 2.5 for Houston. Sorry, inside of a field goal to 2.5 for Houston, -120 on DraftKings. Do it there. because you're getting this, strange odds. On other books, it's more juice. Minus 120 on DraftKings. I kind of dig it. Chiefs, Texans, 6-point teaser, minus 120 on DraftKings. Let's go with that. Broncos and the Raiders. Bo Nix has exceeded, and by the way, Broncos 5-point favorites, 41-point total. Bo Nix has exceeded even my expectations this year. I bet this guy to be Offensive Rookie of the Year, and I don't even bet a lot of futures. But the two that I have this year, Bo Nix, Offensive Rookie of the Year, Ladd McConkey, most rookie receiving yards. Both of those looked completely dead a few weeks ago, and now we have legitimate life for both of them. I threw both of them into the Discord over on Tails in August, and I was like, you know what? Let's try it, man. And it looked so bad. But now we are alive. If Bo Nix comes in and has a few more fantastic games and Jaden Daniels is just mediocre, this could be if they beat the Chiefs the other week, he might be favored right now. And Ladd McConkey's behind Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas. Look at their quarterback play right now. He could make a run, and he's got the Ravens this week. Woo! Anyway, if you ever want to join me over on Tails, join an awesome community, hang out. Your first week is under $5. Your first month is under $15. So even if you hate it and bounce, you go, oh, okay, I've spent money on worse, but I don't think you will. And we've hit some massive plays earlier in the season. We're going to grind out wins, and we're going to hope that once every few weeks we get one of those big ladders or round robins or parlays to drive us home. But NFL24 is the promo code. Link in the description and pinned comment. NFL24. Check it out, man. Come join me. Download the app over at Odd Shopper. You get notifications straight to your phone. Jump in the Discord, say what's up, and we'll see you guys over there. But yeah, this is another divisional homes dog for the Raiders. 7 divisional games this week, by the way. I think we may have to go Denver here, but I don't really want to. This would just be a straight lean. I haven't bet this one yet. They're just playing great football right now. And this defense, man, this defense is something else. Bo Nix is like a legitimately good quarterback right now. And the Raiders have already had no run game, but they might be down to Amir Abdullah this week. I had Dylan Loughy. Brock Bowers is a bona fide stud, but this Broncos defense has put the clamps on essentially every quarterback not named Lamar Jackson. I made the mistake of thinking Denver might come back to earth, might not be totally for real last week when they faced Atlanta, and I was flat out wrong. I'm not planning on making that mistake again, although that honestly just means that I'm not betting against them. I don't think I'm betting them either. Mostly a stay away. I'd lean Broncos, but not betting this one personally. 49ers at the Packers. Packers 2.5-point favorites. 48.5-point total. Not a game that I have a great feel for, but I can tell you this much, all right, since we're here. The Niners look dysfunctional right now, even with the return of Christian McCaffrey. Hopefully, George Kittle's return changes them, but right now we don't know. They barely beat Tampa, who had no one on offense and just lost, and then they just lost a home game to the Seahawks. They gave that game away. You would think a team with this much talent wouldn't drop 2 in a row, but I'm not totally convinced. The Packers are a good football team, well coached, playing at home where Matt LaFleur has been very good. Cold game at Lambeau Field. Something just isn't right with the Niners right now. And the problem is I can't put my finger really on what it is. And if that's the case, maybe it's actually nothing. And it's just variance in a short season with a small sample. It's possible. I'm leaning Packers inside a field goal, but I don't have the best analysis on this game. And I'm not going to lie to you guys and make something up. I will say, though, maybe there is a little bit of revenge narrative here for the Packers after losing that divisional round game to the Niners last year, who ended up going on to the Super Bowl. And there's also a chance. This is why, you might just want to grab the Packers here because Nick Bosa might not play. It sounds like he might. If Nick Bosa does not play, this would be a real killer. A real killer. Like the Seahawks started to actually move the football when Bosa went down in that game last week. So if you're betting this, I'd lean Packers now while they're inside a field goal. I'm not saying Bosa moves this to 5 or anything, but that 2.5 would look a whole lot better if Bosa ends up being out, and we find that out later in the week. Cardinals at the Seahawks. Cardinals are now 1-point dog. This one has gone back and forth, 47.5-point total. I have been so wrong. Look, I tell you guys when I've been right, and I tell you guys when I've been wrong. Hopefully you know that. I'm not going to bullshit you here. I've been so wrong betting against the Cardinals this year. They keep proving me wrong week after week. So how do I do it again this week? The Seahawks are coming off a huge road win against the Niners, but they're such an unpredictable team. You know what? That's not even fair. Maybe they're not as unpredictable as we think. Maybe they're just mediocre. What if that's it? They started the season 3-0 against Bo Nix in his first start, and it was in Seattle. And then Jacoby Brissett and the Patriots, that game went to overtime. And then Miami, who was in there? Skylar Thompson and Tim Boyle, right? Because there was no Tua. That's your 3-0 start to the season. And then they lost to the Giants. They got smoked by the Bills at home. They lost to the Rams. They got beat up by the Niners. And they have 2 impressive wins. One against Atlanta, who isn't actually good. And then last week against San Francisco in San Francisco. Meanwhile, the Cardinals lost a 1-possession game to the Bills and to the Lions, which, if you remember that game, they probably should have won. Remember that whole 2-minute warning nonsense on the pick 6? When there was actually still time on the clock before it went down to 2 minutes? So there's 1-possession games there. They beat San Francisco in San Francisco. They crushed the Rams. They crushed the Bears. They crushed the Jets. They beat the Chargers, who are a definitively good team. And they beat Miami with Tua back. They had 2 stinkers against the Commanders and against the Packers. But the Cardinals have won 4 straight. They're playing good football. You can't, what are you going to say bad about them outside of, well, their personnel isn't great? Yeah, but Jonathan Gannon's making it work. Also, the Seattle Seahawks have lost 4 straight games at home, so that 12th man hasn't been a factor. I don't know, man. Screw it. Give me the Cardinals. Give me the Cardinals +1 on the road. Got to do it. I can't bet the Seahawks here. I just don't feel it. Sunday Night Football, Eagles at the Rams, 50-point total. Eagles laying 3. This will be the biggest test for Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean this week. These guys have been awesome, okay? Awesome. The D-line has been awesome. Across the board, this defense has been fantastic. But let's not completely bury the lead. They haven't exactly faced the stiffest competition. Jaden Daniels is good, but come on. He's a rookie, and we're starting to see him, he's good, but he's not great. Not yet, at least. Joe Burrow didn't have T. Higgins. They did a good job against him. But aside from that, the competition has been wildly underwhelming. Daniel Jones. Who else did we have? Daniel Jones, Deshaun Watson, Cooper Rush. Just a bunch of pretty rough football teams. Whatever. All I'm saying is they've been fantastic. But this duo of Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua they're facing, and a good passer in Matthew Stafford, toughest test yet. If they come out on top of this one, this is all we'll need to know about this new-look Eagles team. I'd say this puts them in Super Bowl contention up there in the NFC with Detroit. But I need to see it first. And the Eagles haven't faced great competition lately. Now, if the D-line can blow things up in the trenches, get to Matthew Stafford, that's a different story. But still, Hurts has to be good, and he's been up and down lately. 6 straight wins for this team, but it feels like this may be a letdown spot traveling out west to face a, kind of a back on track LA Rams team. Yeah. Can the Rams defense stop this Eagles offensive attack? Probably not. Philly's O-line's healthy. And if Hurts has time to throw on these guys, he's going to put up big numbers with Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown and Saquon Barkley on the ground. This is really a big number, but I think the play here, I don't think I'm going to take a side. Probably lean Rams, but I like the over. I think you could see a real shootout here, and it's a big number, but I kind of like the over in this game on Sunday Night Football. Let's close it out. Ravens, Chargers. Ravens 3-point road favorite. 50-point total. What an awesome way to close out Week 12. I'm going to tell you right now, I am more excited about this game than I've been excited about any game on the season. Harbaugh versus Harbaugh. 2 legitimately good football teams. 2 amazing coaches, 50-point total, 3-point spread. Can you ask for anything more than this? Truly. I love this Chargers team right now. I love them coming into the season. I bet the alt win total for them. I told you, I bet Ladd McConkey, most rookie receiving yards. I really like that. I even have a bunch of best ball stacks with Justin Herbert and Ladd McConkey and Quentin Johnston and these guys. Looked ugly early on, but guess who's coming back? Yeah, these guys have been awesome, man. They really have. I could talk forever about them. But I'll tell you this. I hate this number. The odds makers did us dirty here. 3 points is exactly where it should be, right? Like Baltimore -2.5. Give me Baltimore. Chargers +3.5. Give me the Chargers. But no, we get the 3. 50 seems like a big number too, but I don't know. Like the Chargers defense has been excellent, but they haven't fully been tested yet. And we saw second half of last game on Sunday night, Joe Burrow ended up going on a run. That game could have gone the other direction. And the Ravens defense actually showed some life last week. Again, that loss to Pittsburgh, but that's the first time we've seen it all season. I will say, though, John Harbaugh is 2-0 against his brother Jim in the NFL, one of them being the Super Bowl. I really want to bet the Chargers here. I haven't done it yet. It's just the perfect number, and not in a good way, because neither team stands out. maybe my love for Jim Harbaugh turning around this team that desperately needed a competent coach for so long is why I want this Chargers team. I just want them to do well. I hate to just give leans here because I'm not just going to give you my heartfelt opinions. And I'll have a full video breaking this game down Monday, again, 11 Eastern, with additional props on top of that and everything else over on Tails and in the Discord. You know where to find me. But for now, let's lean under and lean Chargers. I just can't wait to watch this game. And I hope you guys feel the same way because it is such a great matchup between two fantastic football teams. Chargers get a win here. They start looking really damn good. Anyway, appreciate you guys hanging out as always. Remember, you want to get on Bet365, collect those bonus bets. You want to hit me up in Tails. Links to everything in the description and the pinned comment. And I'll see you back here for the next one. Have a great week, everybody. Peace.